Part 28 begins in the lingering gravity that persists long after the hearing room empties, a gravity that settles into public consciousness, institutional memory, and the moral framework of civic accountability. The confrontation between Jasmine Crockett and Pam Bondi has evolved from a tense exchange into a defining case study in how moral acknowledgement, procedural authority, and legal integrity coexist under scrutiny. The shadow of Jeffrey Epstein adds profound weight, symbolizing the consequences of systemic neglect and the urgency of addressing unacknowledged harm. Crockett's insistence on explicitly recognizing survivors demanded that the human dimension of accountability be front and center, while Bondi's calm, structured framing demonstrated that credibility and legitimacy rely on historical context, legal frameworks, and adherence to procedural norms. The tension between moral clarity and institutional rigor is what gives the exchange enduring significance and instructive power. Examining the exchange closely, Crockett's insistence conveys that ethical responsibility cannot be postponed or symbolic. She compelled recognition of survivors in real time, highlighting that acknowledgement carries tangible moral and civic weight. Bondi's measured responses illustrate that accountability must also respect institutional boundaries, historical precedent, and procedural fidelity. Observers evaluate both dimensions simultaneously, analyzing the authenticity of recognition alongside the sufficiency of procedural justification. This dual lens reveals a central truth. Modern oversight is inherently multidimensional, requiring institutions to balance moral, legal, and emotional obligations simultaneously. The symbolic resonance of Epstein's legacy heightens the stakes. While the hearing addressed past prosecutorial decisions, it also reflected broader systemic failures, societal inequities, and the enduring consequences of institutional neglect. Crockett's insistence made acknowledgement unavoidable, placing survivors' experiences at the forefront of accountability. Bondi's procedural framing ensured that historical actions were interpreted within proper context, preserving credibility while maintaining public trust. Together, their exchange models the integration of human empathy and structural authority, demonstrating how institutions can responsibly confront morally and historically complex issues. This confrontation illustrates the iterative nature of accountability. Single hearings rarely produce immediate systemic change, but they set expectations, reinforce norms, and gradually shape institutional behavior. Crockett's insistence may establish explicit acknowledgement of survivors as a standard expectation in future oversight proceedings, while Bondi's disciplined defense provides a guide for responsibly explaining historical decisions. Over time, these moments accumulate, embedding norms where empathy and procedural clarity coexist, strengthening both legitimacy and moral resonance. Accountability, therefore, is continuous, refined through repeated engagement and reflection. The tension between moral intensity and procedural composure demonstrates a fundamental democratic principle. Conflict serves as a mechanism for refinement, not weakness. Crockett's urgency delivers ethical clarity and moral framing. Bondi's steadiness preserves authority, structural coherence, and procedural integrity. Observers learn that effective oversight requires the simultaneous coexistence of these forces, highlighting that neither empathy nor procedure can be sacrificed without consequence. The exchange becomes a practical model for navigating ethically charged, legally nuanced scenarios, demonstrating the multidimensional nature of accountability. Responsibility extends beyond those present at the dais to the public itself. Civic engagement, reflection, and critical discourse ensure that hearings like the Crockett-Bondi exchange have lasting influence. The hearing, framed by Epstein's shadow, becomes a reference point for acknowledging survivors, defending authority, and communicating with both moral clarity and procedural rigor. Its enduring impact depends on public insistence that acknowledgement accompanies procedural fidelity, that empathy reinforces structure, and that oversight is executed to the highest ethical standards. The lasting insight is that justice is holistic, integrating acknowledgement, empathy, and structured authority. The dialogue from this hearing continues to shape public expectations, institutional norms, and societal standards. Transparency, recognition of human experience, and procedural rigor are mutually reinforcing pillars. The Crockett-Bondi exchange exemplifies how democratic institutions function under scrutiny, ensuring that ethical clarity and institutional integrity advance together, leaving a lasting imprint well beyond the immediate controversy